On one night in March 1944, nearly 1 in 8 RAF bombers vanished over Nuremberg, leaving hundreds dead without warning or explanation. Crews spoke of aircraft erupting into flame, while RAF intelligence found no clear cause until a technical decision to remove the Lancasters' belly turrets revealed a fatal blind spot. How did an innovation meant to save lives instead turn the night sky into a killing ground? Nuremberg, March 30th, 1944. At briefing, 795 crews prepared for a routine mission, unaware that by dawn, 96 of their bombers would never return. The numbers alone stunned Bomber Command. 12% of the force was wiped out in a single night, the highest loss rate in RAF history. The raid's aftermath left airfields eerily quiet, empty dispersal points stretching across England. Survivors spoke of a sky filled with sudden, violent destruction. One flight engineer recalled that it was like watching fireworks, planes just bursting into flame, one after another. Flames lit the blackness for miles, marking the path of the bomber stream. Crews described seeing 4, sometimes 5 Lancasters erupting almost at once, each one a brief, blinding flare before darkness closed in again. The scale of loss made no sense. These were experienced crews, flying the best defended bombers in the world. Yet the pattern of destruction defied everything intelligence officers expected. Debriefings offered no answers. Some men insisted that flak had found new accuracy. Others whispered about secret German weapons. Official reports listed the missing, but explanations ran dry. The only certainty was the emptiness left behind. For the men who survived, the question was inescapable. How could so many vanish so quickly, with no warning and no visible enemy? In 1943, RAF engineering teams faced a dilemma. Every ounce carried by a Lancaster mattered. The ventral or belly FN-64 gun turret, once fitted to guard against attacks from below, became the focus of scrutiny. Its periscope sighting system proved awkward to use, and operational reports questioned its real value in combat. Removing the turret would save nearly £500, a weight saving that mattered to planners. That weight was urgently needed for the new H-2S ground mapping radar, a technological leap that promised to guide bombers to their targets through cloud and darkness. The decision came down from Bomber Command. Ventral turrets would be deleted from most new Lancasters, and existing aircraft would be modified as they cycled through maintenance. The radar dome, mounted in the belly, took the turret's place. On paper, this trade-off made sense. The H-2S set offered navigation and bombing accuracy no crew wanted to give up. But the change left a void, quite literally. At 20,000 feet, the Lancaster's underside was now unguarded. From below, the aircraft presented a broad, flat silhouette against the night sky, the outline of its wings and fuselage clearly visible to anyone looking up. Yet from inside, the crew's view downward was blocked by the bombe and radar housing. Defensive guns still bristled from the nose, the dorsal position, and the tail turrets, but the belly remained exposed. The logic of the modification was clear. Its consequence, at the time, was not. German night fighter crews approached their targets with a precision that left little to chance. The mechanics of the attack were brutally simple. Each Bf-110 or Ju-88 carried a pair of 20mm or, in some cases, 30mm cannons mounted behind the cockpit, angled sharply upward, typically between 65 and 70 degrees. This oblique geometry allowed the pilot to fly directly beneath a Lancaster, positioning the fighter just 100 to 200 feet below the bomber's belly. At that range, the Lancaster's silhouette stood out against the stars, a perfect target bracketed between the inner engines where the fuel tanks lay. Unlike traditional gunnery, these attacks required no deflection, No need to calculate lead or adjust for the bomber's speed. The upward-firing guns pointed straight into the most vulnerable part of the aircraft. Once in position, the pilot squeezed the trigger for a 2 or 3 second burst. 60 rounds of high-explosive shells tore upward, often igniting the fuel tanks in a single catastrophic flash. The entire process, from stalking to kill, could be completed in less than a minute. German crews described the attack as almost mechanical in its certainty. There was no warning for the bomber crew, no evasive action possible. The night fighter remained invisible against the dark earth below, while the Lancaster's outline glowed faintly against the sky. For the men in the German cockpit, the geometry of the encounter turned the British bomber's blind spot into a guaranteed kill zone. The upward guns did not just exploit a weakness, they made it a fatal certainty. At altitude, the Lancaster's underside became a liability that no amount of crew vigilance could overcome. German night fighters, equipped with Liechtenstein radar, navigated into the bomber stream and slipped beneath their targets, exploiting a perfect contrast. Against the starlit sky, the shape of each bomber stood out in pale relief, wings, fuselage, and engines etched cleanly above. For the RAF crews inside, the view downward offered nothing but blackness. The ground below absorbed all light, rendering any attacker invisible from the cockpit or turrets. Monica tail warning radar, designed to alert crews to threats from behind, scanned a cone-shaped arc that missed anything directly underneath. Technical manuals warned of this gap, but operational urgency left no easy fix. As a result, the entire approach vector exploited by Schrager Music equipped fighters fell outside Monica detection beam. Even if a gunner suspected movement below, the standard .303 caliber guns could not depress far enough to return fire. The German pilot, meanwhile, enjoyed a clear, steady shot. No need to calculate angles or deflection, just a direct line to the most vulnerable section of the bomber. By early 1944, approximately 1 in 3 German night fighters carried these upward-firing installations. The tactic scaled rapidly, turning what began as an experimental advantage into a systemic threat. Each successful attack reinforced the method's reliability, and word spread quickly among Luftwaffe squadrons. The blind spot became a killing ground, exploited on a scale that Bomber Command never anticipated when it made the original modifications. Every technical gap, radar, visibility, and armament combined to leave hundreds of crews exposed, the consequences measured in empty bunks and silent dispersal points across England. 7 men made up a Lancaster crew: pilot, navigator, bomb aimer, wireless operator, flight engineer, and 2 gunners. Each man relied on the others not just for the mission, but for survival itself. The odds were brutal. Fewer than half would finish a full 30-mission tour. Over the winter and spring of 1944, the toll mounted with every raid. In the darkness above Germany, they watched as entire crews vanished in seconds, their aircraft transformed into blazing pyres that lit the night for miles. One survivor later remembered the silence after a friend's bomber disappeared, the sudden emptiness in the sky and on the ground. For every aircraft lost, 7 empty bunks waited back at base. The statistics were stark. 96 bombers gone in a single night meant 672 men erased in hours. For those who returned, each mission became a roll of the dice, and the weight of absence grew heavier with every empty dispersal point. In July 1944, a captured Ju-88 night fighter and the interrogation of its pilot gave Bomber Command undeniable evidence. German crews had been using upward-firing cannons to attack from below. Analysis of the wreckage matched the unexplained damage patterns seen on lost Lancasters. Within days, RAF Command ordered the withdrawal of Monica tail warning radar after intelligence showed the Germans were using its signals to home in on the bomber stream. New directives authorized the integration of Mosquito night fighters into the main force, hoping their speed and radar could disrupt enemy attacks. Some squadrons acting on their own began reinstalling makeshift belly guns, despite official resistance. But these measures arrived late. The fundamental vulnerability, an exposed underside, could not be fixed overnight. The technical trade-off that once promised greater accuracy had left a permanent gap in the bomber's defenses, and the price had already been paid in lives. Every innovation in war, no matter how logical, carries unseen risk. Today, military decisions still trade protection for technology, often under relentless pressure. The Lancasters' blind spot reminds us that even the smartest design can become tomorrow's fatal flaw. Modern warfare never stops searching for the next vulnerability. What do you think?